So we have a question about a bag with counters in it, and there are red counters, blue counters and purple counters. Nothing else, just those three counters. And we're told about the ratio of red to blue, and that's 3 to 17. Okay, so we might use that in a minute. And then Sam takes at random a counter from a bag, from the bag. And the probability that the counter is purple is 0.2. Okay, work out the probability that Sam takes a red counter. So we sort of need to know the number of counters, don't we? So let's use the information we've got in the question. Let's start with this ratio. Well, the ratio we're told is that the number of red counters to the number of blue counters is 3 to 17. Now, what about the purple counters? Well, let's put them in there too. How many purple counters are there? Well, let's call that X. I don't know. So let's write that down somewhere. X is the number of purple counters. Okay, just telling the examiner or whoever happens to be reading this what I'm doing. So if X is the number of purple counters, then we have the ratio now 3 to 17 to X. Now what's the other piece of information we're given? Well, it's this probability thing here. So the probability that the counter is purple is what? Well, it tells me that it is 0.2. Okay, now how else can I do that in terms of X? Well, it's clearly going to be X out of the total, isn't it? So what's the total? Let's work out the total number of counters. So the total is 3 plus 17 plus X, which is 20 plus X. And so, thinking about this carefully, the probability of pulling out a purple counter is X over the total number of counters. So it's X over 20 plus X. And that's equal to, well, 0.2. What do I know about 0.2? Well, that's 2 out of 10, is it not? So let's cancel that down to 1 out of 5. I just think it might be easier to use 1 out of 5. Okay, now, how do I solve this equation? I get rid of fractions first of all, don't I? So I need to multiply both sides by the bottoms. So by 5 and by 20 plus x. And if I multiply that side by 5 and by 20 plus x, I must multiply that side by 5 and by 20 plus x as well. And remember that when I'm multiplying, I'm essentially doing it on the top. Green cancelling pen comes out, and the 5s cancel on the right, and on the left, 20 plus x on the top cancels with the 20 plus x on the bottom. And I get 5x equals, well, all that's left on the right is 1 times 20 plus x, which is 20 plus x. How do I get x on its own? Well, let's get rid of it from the right-hand side by subtracting x from both sides, and that gives me 4x equals 20. And so, quite quickly, dividing by 4 gives me, again, cancelling the 4's on the right to get x on its own. Sorry, 4's on the left to get x on its own. And x is 20 over 4, which is 5. So there are 5 purple counters. And I now know there are 25 counters in total. So the probability of getting a red counter is, well, how many red counters are there? 3. How many counters are there in total? 25. And that is that.